Happy Monday, Jacob.
Hey, happy Monday, Chris. How are you?
I'm very well. I'm very well. Where in the world are you today?
I am actually in the Sacred Valley of Peru right now. We're about an hour and a half train ride from Machu Picchu.
How cool. How cool. What have
Yeah,
you, what,
it's pretty wild.
we're going to dive in a minute, but what in the hell have you been up to for the last 14 days? Tell me about that real quick.
The last 4 months I've been down here in South America, exploring down in Ecuador and Peru. And really the last couple of weeks have been kind of a nonstop familiarization trip is what we call it in the travel industry. Basically experiencing the travels and tours and adventures and hotels that I send my clients down here in Peru and in Ecuador. We're all over South America, really.
I love it. I love it. We're going to dive more in that in a
Yeah.
minute, but I want to kind of familiarize myself a little bit with your guests, and I want to
Yep.
familiarize my guests with you. To kind of start things off, you guys are just starting to follow these Monday motivation conversations that I'm having. Basically, I reach out to my friends whom I've known for years and years about what they're doing in their lives and their passion and how basically they're living life to the fullest. And you and I met, was it middle school or was it high school?
I think it's high school at Lincoln. Yeah.
Yeah, it was at Lincoln. Where'd you go to middle school at?
I went to Edison.
Okay, yeah, it was definitely Lincoln High School. And then
Yeah.
we kept in touch because both of us ended up finding ourselves in Miami. I don't think we ran into each other there in
Yeah.
Miami, but that became a
That's right.
commonality.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, absolutely. A lot of Miami connections.
that's awesome. And so one of the things, Jacob, that I absolutely love about A, running into you in town when I get to see you, but when I follow you on social media, is you're always doing something new and exciting and cool that's related to travel. And so if I remember a while back, we were talking and you were talking about kind of like this standard job you had, like you just had to get out of that. So I was wondering,
Yeah. Yeah.
you're obviously same age as me, 33. I think we're kind of like 20 somethings on steroids, if you will. Like,
Yeah. It's a great way of putting it.
like we have the knowledge now and we have the drive now. But more importantly,
Yep.
now we have that little bit of disposable income that allows us to like go on some of these little adventures. But
Yep.
but
Yeah.
one of the things that I was hoping that maybe some of the people that are watching can really take away from you, Jacob, is how you put yourself in your journey in life to do things that are your dreams, the things that fulfill you as a person. Why don't you step us back? What were you doing in your 20s that's really led you to this place in your life where you get to go to South America for 4 months to,
Yeah.
to ultimately serve, your clients. We'll learn about your business in a
Sure.
minute. So
Yeah.
tell me a little bit.
I mean, well, I went to university in the University of Minnesota in Minneapolis, where I studied marketing. And my first job right out of college was working in the travel industry and travel marketing. And while it wasn't necessarily my passion, it was something that I was very much interested in, and it was a good way to get my feet wet in terms of the travel industry. And I traveled a lot personally in college, just for fun, backpacking in the summers through Central America. But really having that professional aspect of travel marketing got me interested and knowledgeable about the travel industry from a very early point in my career. And then with the Great Recession, I went to work in finance for a few years. And I think that was kind of the impetus for wanting to, I mean, I've always kind of had an entrepreneurial fire within me,
Hmm.
but I think working in finance really taught me a lot about not only my career path, but also kind of like what I do and what I do not want to do for my career. And so when I launched IntroverTravels, my travel agency last summer, it was really kind of really my way to explore and to develop my own passions and to follow my own personal dreams and like take my life in a different direction. And I think I'm not the only one that's felt this way, where you kind of hit a point in your career or your personal life or whatever it is, and you have this moment where you realize you're kind of not on the right path, and you're kind of just going through the motions or maybe doing what you think society expects of you or whatever. And I think it's a point at which many of us have this choice where we have to kind of decide in which direction we want to take it. And I decided to go in this direction, and here I am in South America building my business remotely.
I love
And
it.
so, long story short, yeah, it's kind of how I've come to be right here, right now.
No, I love it. Actually, I remember when I first launched Reistroffer Design, there was that, for me, it was kind of like there was a level of uncertainty where I was like, oh my goodness, like, am I really ready for this? And there was like
Yeah, nobody's ever actually ready, but you just got to do it, right?
you just have to jump in. And there was a point, and actually, my friend Sam, who lives here in Sioux Falls, who's someone you should meet, he just took his creative, I wouldn't call it a hobby because he does a little bit of commercial work, but he's just now expanding it into an actual business. And there's that level of uncertainty of like, oh my goodness, like I'm really going to start swimming. Like,
Yeah.
what was it like for you making that transition from being employed by, an agency or a firm, if you will, to
Yeah.
saying, hey, I'm going to do me. I'm going to start my own business. I'm going to climb my own mountain. What was that like for you? Like,
Yeah.
tell us about that, how you overcame that,
Um,
how you got excited.
well, I was excited. I mean, like, I guess I'd be lying if I didn't say that I was a little scared, but I was excited and I was, just I had this sense of freedom and it's a sense of confidence too. I think that like I don't think that I have all the answers. I'm still trying to figure things out on a daily basis. But it's
Mm-hmm.
a confidence in knowing that like everything will work out, and a confidence of knowing that I have a good idea, and I've verified it with some of my ideal type of people. I've verified it within the industry, and it was a sense of excitement and confidence mixed with a little bit of fear, which is good. I think it kind of lights a fire under your ass. But all those things combined, it was really just kind of like this exciting moment last year, or 18 months ago when I was doing this. It was just like I wake up every day and I'm excited. Like Monday mornings come around and I don't dread them anymore. And it's a sense of freedom and a sense of accomplishment, and like you said, fear too. I mean, that's definitely a motivating factor. But and my dad is an entrepreneur, and he's like, you're never gonna feel like not scared. You never,
Uh-huh.
and I think that's just part of the very nature of being an entrepreneur, and going in your own path is having that courage and having that maybe, I don't know,
No, I love the answer.
blind confidence, really.
Blind confidence is a right way to put it. One of the things that helps me is I have a lot of books and a lot of people that I tend to follow for motivation, inspiration, if you will. Do you have any particular like mentors that you've set yourself with to maybe learn from or
Yeah.
follow, like, or even people maybe you just read regularly?
Totally. I have a few. Here's the thing. I think that there's so many like gurus out there, and they're all kind of like telling their own spin on the same type of story, and it can be overwhelming.
Mm.
So I've like unsubscribed from so many gurus and emails and blah blah blah. I just don't even subscribe to them anymore. My main go-tos are Jill Stanton from Screw the 9 to 5, who
Cool.
is just awesome, awesome, awesome. I love everything about her. And then Jasmine Starr, she's a well-known wedding photographer
Mm-hmm.
turned branding specialist, and she's become a sort of social media mentor for me. Met her last year and have just implemented a lot of her teachings about not only social media but branding and kind of telling your own story. So I think Jill and Jasmine combined kind of form like the basis of like who I am and who my business is.
Yeah.
And then on a more maybe like impersonal level, I'm really inspired by Seth Godin.
Cool.
I just really love his like cerebral way of thinking about life and business, and I respond well to his his take on things. Yeah.
No, I love
Now,
it. I want
cool.
to talk a little bit about your travels for a minute. One of the
Yeah.
neat things that I think is cool about what you're doing is you're going to what I would consider very spiritually enlightening environments.
Hmm.
Machu Picchu is one of my bucket lists. One of my bucket lists
Yeah.
prior was the Great Pyramids of
And for good
Giza.
reason.
Yeah, the Great Pyramids of Giza was one of those that I wanted to experience. I wanted to put my hands on the actual, Great Pyramid. I wanted to think about how they
Yeah.
were made and when they were made and what's happened since. Machu
Right.
Picchu, being one of those hidden cities, has always fascinated me. And I was wondering, can you tell me a little bit about maybe some of the things that you were experiencing while you were there, the things that you were thinking about, the views you were seing? Like, how's it
Hmm.
changed you? How's it enhanced you?
You know, I mean, just speaking, about Machu Picchu specifically, that particular, 3 day trip, 2 days, 1 night, 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 2 days, 1 location is just absolutely fascinating. When you come into the Sacred Valley and you see not only just the breathtaking views, but you have to put yourself, excuse me, in the perspective of the Inca. Several centuries ago, when they didn't have the technology, they didn't have the conveniences of trucks and trains and all that stuff. They were brilliant people. And really what Machu Picchu is a man-made mountain within a mountain. And they had taken the sand from the river below, the Urubamba River down below. They took the sand from there to stabilize the soil so that it's actually earthquake resistant, which is something that not a lot of people realize. The Incas were it gives me goosebumps right now as I'm talking about it. It's just so genius how they anticipated earthquakes. They were able to take the fertile soil from the valley, bring it up the mountain, and actually create these very fertile terraces, because the soil up at that height isn't really that great. But they were able to make it very fertile, and they were able to actually hybridize the crops that they were growing. So every year they would take their potatoes, for example, and they would step them up one level. And so you have these species of potatoes that only grow at this altitude in this particular area, because the Incas had that knowledge of being able to sort of maintain the environment and to tame it, really. But they were very in tune with the environment itself. Pachamama is Mother Earth to the Inca. And so they really tried to have as minimal impact on the environment as possible. So when you come to Machu Picchu and you come to the Sacred Valley, you see it looks like kind of like these chicken scratches all across the mountains, but they're just really ancient terraces. And it's totally incorporated into the mountain. It's totally natural now. And I just think it's awe-inspiring what the Incas had done in such a relatively short period of time. All the trips that I do for Introvert Travels incorporate elements of history, nature, culture, and kind of are more of these life-changing type of travel experiences, because I really believe, and I think you kind of share the same philosophy, where it's beyond just a vacation and it's actually an experience. And to be able to connect some element of something within you, whether it's through nature, history, or culture, or a combination of all of the above, it's really something special. I think it kind of takes the experience or the destination to like the next level. It's a totally different experience than just taking a beach vacation or just going on vacation to like Vegas for the weekend. It's a heightened level of travel, and not that there's anything wrong with a beach vacation or Vegas, of course, but the types of travel experiences that I personally respond well to and that I like to plan for my clients are these ones that really kind of give you the goosebumps or kind of stir something within you. That, I mean, I had people who have cried at Machu Picchu. I've known people who have, I personally got the goosebumps on Easter Island. People are just, I was fascinated by the Galapagos just because of all the nature and just the science and history behind it. So I think that these kind of unique places around the world are just very special ways for people to travel. And I'm always trying to encourage people maybe to up-level their vacation and push themselves a little bit beyond the typical vacation.
What was it like experiencing that trail, knowing that it's not overly traveled? Like, how special did that make you feel? Like, how can people put themselves in that position to say, I'm going to do something unique and different?
It takes a little planning, especially for the Inca Trail, which I think is if you have moderate to better physical ability and you come to Peru and you want to see Machu Picchu, I absolutely think that the Inca Trail is like by far and away the best way that you can possibly experience Machu Picchu. It's just indescribable. But that said, it takes a little bit of extra planning. So to get to the Inca Trail, they only issue 500 permits per day for the entire trail. And 300 of those are for porters and guides. Wow. So they really only allow 200 foreigners per day to enter the Inca Trail and to hike. So it does feel very special. And I think that was one of the things that I enjoyed the most about the hike, was not actually approaching Machu Picchu, but rather the 3 days prior to that, where you just don't see anyone. And so by the fourth day, when you get to Machu Picchu, which is pretty, popular, it's almost like walking into the middle of Times Square from the middle of nowhere. It's just like, oh my God, there's so many people. When really, in actuality, there aren't that many people at Machu Picchu, but you've become so accustomed to just being alone with nature that you're just not accustomed to seeing people anymore. It's the craziest feeling, and I love that.
I love it. I want to talk to you about
Yeah,
traveling earlier. Experienced traveler, experienced traveler. Some of the people watching might, be ready to like take that leap and start traveling. I
yeah,
want to talk about packing, currency exchange, and technology and clothing to bring along on trips. So let's talk
yeah.
about currency. As a specialist, what do you advise for people to do when they're getting ready to go to a country in terms of currency?
Yeah,
Do you think they should do it at home? Do you think they should do it at the bank locally? Where do you think they should do their exchanges?
a couple of things. So first off, tell your credit card company and your bank that you're traveling, and
Cool.
give them specific dates and specific destinations so they don't shut your shit off. And
Right?
then once you get into the destination, I usually bring like, depends on where I'm going, depends on how much things cost. I'll usually bring like $20 or $30 and I'll exchange that at the airport. So I have
Okay.
enough for a cab, for a water, whatever it is that I need immediately.
Yep.
But you're always going to get the worst exchange rates at the airport. So once
True.
you've exchanged like the 20 or $30, get into wherever it is that you're going, whether it's the city, the country, whatever, and then find an ATM or a bank locally, and then you'll get much preferential exchange rates. You can withdraw local currency from ATMs, and then you're set up to go. Depending on where you are, credit cards aren't always widely accepted.
Correct.
I've done quite a bit of traveling in Africa, which is a heavily cash-based society. Even I'll use Ecuador and Peru as an example. They're two neighboring countries. Ecuador, it's almost unheard of to find credit cards outside of like the major hotels and finer restaurants. Peru is much more common, but Visa is the preferred carrier, and I usually have MasterCard. So there's something that I would have not really known had I not come here. So that's something that I'm going to advise my clients about. Just, be aware that if you have a MasterCard or heaven forbid, like a Discover, you're not going to be able to use that. It's either Visa or MasterCard down here. But, Ecuador, just to the north, is a almost completely cash-based society. Yeah, if you go to xe.com is a really
Boom.
good one that I put in. Yeah, there
Yep.
you go.
There it is.
And it's really easy to remember, XE, and you can find out like what the exchange rate is both in US dollars and local currency, and get a gauge for like how much even just like basic things are going to cost. Tipping as well. Tipping varies from country to country, from city to city. So being able to understand like the local tipping culture is also really important.
That's really important. Question I was going to say. Your cell phone, your internet, those types of things. The GSM card. I like to buy those locally when I land in a new country for my iPhone. I can pop out my SIM card from the States,
Yes.
and then I can put in
Yep.
a SIM card locally so I can have local data so I can call in and out to businesses that I might need. But then also there's usually an option for a Wi-Fi for data, and I can use
Yeah.
that to Skype and talk to people. Have you found anything different than that you recommend to people when they travel for communication?
Nope, that's exactly it. I would recommend researching which are the major carriers before you get to a destination. So, like whether it's here in South America, we use Movistar, Claro, Bitel. Just researching like which ones are the best, and
Yep.
some of them vary depending like whether you're in the city or whether you're going to be in more remote locations. But yeah, once you get to the destination, you can like as you're going to the ATM, for example, just make a plan for that afternoon to like hit up the ATM or bank, and then hit up like there's like these little cell phone shops or whatever. And I'm specifically referring to South America, but
Yep. That's how it is
really
in most
common to be
countries.
able. Yeah, really easy to just get a little SIM card. They'll pop it in, and then you can charge it. So when I was in Ecuador, I would just every Friday I would have to pay $3 for my cell phone bill, which is amazing.
Yeah, right.
$12 a month for your cell phone, and then you get like here in Peru, I have unlimited data for a certain period of time, and it's not expensive. It's much less expensive than in the U.S., and it's nice to be able to have that security of like Google Maps, text
Yep.
messaging. Even like Instagram, Facebook, like just those little modern conveniences. When you see something cool, just like take a shot and upload it. It's nice to be able to be still connected even when you're outside of the US. Google is also just awesome as a company and for travel purposes, because they also have their Google Translate app, which they've recently updated so that you can actually like live, like it's not a photograph, but like you like use the camera functionality on your phone and it will literally translate in real time signs, menus, etc. So like written things will actually be translated via your camera, which to me just like blows my mind. And furthermore, if you're like, I use the example of a taxi driver. If you're taking a taxi in a city and you don't speak the language, it's really helpful to have the Google Translate app so that you can either type or talk into the phone, and then it will translate in the local language to your cab driver, to the server at the restaurant or whatever, the local language. So it's a really nice way, if you don't speak the language, to be able to communicate in real time and not have to like look at your, translate book, whatever.
That's huge.
It
That's
really
huge.
helps. It's amazing.
And in our last few minutes, I want to talk about things that you pack into your suitcase that you like to bring along that are essentials and stuff that ends up just being excess weight. Because when you travel for 4 months, or even for a couple of days or a couple of weeks, what you pack, you're going to bring with you.
You've got to be really judicious about what you bring and what you don't bring.
Yeah. Are there things
Yeah.
that you can point out that you think are really valuable to bring, or things that you think you should leave at home as a whole?
Yeah. Personally, I think those little travel neck pillows are like the worst things ever. And I just can't, for the life of me, ever find a purpose for them. And they're so uncomfortable for me. I personally never bring them. Some people like them. Some people swear by them. To each their own. I just leave that shit at home. And I just, my most valuable thing that I travel with, though, however, is a scarf. My friend Heather brought it to me from a market in Paris years ago. It's really nice, very simple, and looks very good. But I can use that as like a scarf. I can wrap my head. Like I can use it as a blanket. I can put it for my lower back. I can use it in my neck. And if it goes cold, just like use it as a regular scarf.
Right.
So just having
Multi-purpose clothing.
yeah, think about multi-purpose. If you're just traveling for like a long weekend or a week, I try to pack in like one kind of color scheme. So like if it's blacks and grays, or if it's browns and tans, and then I just might inject like a few other pieces of color throughout my wardrobe to kind of mix things up, or I'll wear layers so that it doesn't look like I'm wearing the same outfit for 4 months at a time, even though that's what I've been doing.
Yeah.
So
Right.
having like vests and sweaters and shirts and stuff, and kind of like building a layered wardrobe for me really helps. Oh, and the most important thing I think I've ever traveled with, well, two things. There's the handheld luggage scale, which is brilliant if you're an overpacker, because I know a lot of people will just like do the thing where you step on the bathroom scale and then reweigh yourself with your luggage and calculate the difference, and it's kind of clunky. With the handheld luggage scale, they're like $20 on Amazon, and you like literally just strap it in like a seatbelt and then lift it up, and it gives you a readout on the spot. So if you're an overpacker, that's going to be amazing. Then you can get these like they're like giant Ziploc bags, and they're like the vacuum sealed bags, but you don't need a vacuum with them. You just like literally like just roll out the air and squeeze it out. So it creates its own vacuum.
That's huge for
saves
wetness.
So much space. Oh my God. I have so much stuff. I have textiles that I'm bringing back and sweaters. Just like rolling it up, and it saves so much space in your luggage. They're a lifesaver, and they're super cheap. At like you can go to AAA and get them. I mean, it's
that's actually
easy.
some of the best advice I've heard in a long time, and I would have forgot to mention that, just because when you could suck all that air, it keeps everything compressed, and they go a long ways. They go a long ways,
and it keeps out the stink too. Like when I was on the Inca Trail, I brought them with me. It's true, because I was hiking for 4 days, no shower, no nothing. I mean, just really backwoods. So after 4 days of sweating, and you got rain and sun, and it's just, you put them in one bag, you squeeze out the air, and then you don't have to smell it in your luggage. So I brought two, and so I had one fresh bag and then one dirty bag, and brilliant. It saved the week.
Actually, that's a huge thing in my world, being able to keep my clean clothes separate from my dirty clothes.
Yeah.
It sounds really simple, but when you're moving constantly, that can be the difference between you being that one guy at dinner and you being that one guy at dinner. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And like the stinky clothes thing, like a lot of people will use, excuse me, like maybe a grocery bag or a plastic bag just to keep the moisture out. That's not sufficient for odors. So if you have like one of those vacuum bags, again, they're so cheap. And then for the difference that it makes with your clothes, it's just a lifesaver. So those are essentials. Can't get enough of them.
Now, lastly, before we head out, where can people find you on social media? Where can they follow along? Where can they learn about your travel agency? How can they get in touch with you if they're looking for something unique? So what about Facebook?
For sure.
Where can they find you on Facebook?
Facebook, I have both a page at IntroverTravels,
Cool.
and that's just one T in the middle. Introvert Travels, one word.
Cool.
I also have a Facebook group, which I think is really exciting. I'm trying to kind of build a small community of like-minded travelers who really value authenticity and these life-changing travel experiences. So you can find the private Facebook group and just request access, and I'll let you in.
Awesome.
I'd love to have people share their stories, their inspirations, their future travels, their travel photography. It's a really cool group of well-traveled people.
That's awesome.
And then on Instagram, I'm very active there as well at IntroverTravels.
Okay.
And I blog. I like to blog as well about my experiences and my recommendations and just things along the way. So introverttravels.com/blog is where you can find all of my ruminations.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And last closing words, is there anything that you can think of that you would want to say to somebody right now if they're watching this, they're at their desk, they hate their job, or they want to travel, but everybody keeps bailing on them? What would you tell that person listening right now to do if they're in that place where they're just not climbing their own mountain? What would you tell them?
Yeah. Well, in terms of like, if you don't have friends that want to travel with you and you have to go alone, do it anyway. Just go travel. Do it alone. It doesn't matter. You will love it. So there's that. If you are stuck in a job or you're just feeling like you're maybe not doing life to your full potential, or it's just not going the way that you need it to, change. Just, you're not a tree. You can move. And I would say just do it. And one of the best quotes that I have, and when I get scared or I just got to do it, is if you jump, you'll learn how to fly. And so if you've wanted to start a business, you've wanted to take a risk, you've wanted to do something profound in your life, but you're afraid to do it or you're nervous to do it, just do it, because you'll figure it out and you will fly and it will always be okay. And I would just say, like, if you feel something within you that is stirring to do something more, do it.
I absolutely love it. Well, on that note, Jacob, what a treat. Thanks for taking the time. I love sharing
Chris.
stories. For those of you watching, happy Monday. Remember, your day's what you make it. Make today count so tomorrow can be even better. Have an awesome day, everybody. Jacob,
Bye,
you have an
guys.
amazing day too. Cheers.
Thanks, Chris. See you later.
Bye.